Joining us on the line right now, Bret, anchor of Special Report at the Fox News channels, seen each day at 6 p.m., and author of a really great book called Special Heart. Good morning to you, Bret.
Good morning.
Bret, okay, so first of all, I want to run two little clips here for you. First of all, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff last week, when asked, can we solve the ISIS problem without going into Syria? Here's what he said.
Can they be defeated without addressing that part of their organization which resides in Syria? The answer is no.
That seemed pretty definitive. But then yesterday, during his appearance in the White House press room, the president seemed to say that there is no strategy, and if there was a strategy, it wouldn't involve going into Syria.
We don't have a strategy yet.
Were you surprised when you heard those words come out of the president's mouth?
Yeah, I typed an email to our staff and said we need to pull that soundbite right then. And I think other news organizations obviously did the same thing. Because out of the news conference, that was the thing that caught everybody's attention. Listen, just 24 hours before that, Josh Earnest was asked in the White House briefing room if the president chose to go into Syria with military airstrikes, would the strategy be like the strategy that the U.S. has against ISIS in Iraq? And he said yes. The White House is sending out all kinds of different signals.
Well, and so is the Pentagon.
Yeah.
Right.
And, you know, the Pentagon was really forward-leaning about the threat from ISIS a week and a half ago, about how apocalyptic it is and how, they're adding fighters and how they're virulent, exponentially more dangerous than Al-Qaeda. And then the talking point was, well, we don't think that they're capable of a 9/11 style attack, and it's really a regional issue.
But when you have the State Department being more aggressive, when you have the Pentagon being more aggressive, and you have even the press secretary being more aggressive than the President of the United States, what are we to draw from that? We
draw that he does not want to be drawn in, and he does not want to make this decision now, which is why now you have yesterday the New York Times editorial saying they're hearing mid-September after he gets back from this NATO summit for a decision. I mean, there is really this push and pull inside the White House on different ways to look at this and really decision-making.
Bret, you just hit the nail on the head. You describe a push and pull in the White House. And I want to go back to something else the president said. He talked about Ukraine at the press conference yesterday, and did you notice he refused to say that Putin was invading Ukraine?
Sure.
Did you know that?
Yeah.
Or you heard that. And so what I want to ask you is, right now I would describe what we're doing in Iraq as military engagement. It's not humanitarian. There's nothing humanitarian about it. So why do you think the president is so loath to use the words war, fighting terrorists? What like you said, there's a push and pull. He's all over the place, right?
Yeah, I just don't think that he wants to get involved in that. He would prefer to do something on a small scale and go in and come out. I think that is what he's always forecast. Right. I think on Ukraine, it's just really interesting. If you remember, the president at the beginning of all this said we cannot allow Crimea to go. Well, now Crimea has different passports.
Yeah. Right.
So, it's a different.
He said that about Syria too. Remember, there was a red line.
Well, not only that, but Bashar al-Assad has to go. His days are numbered. Right. 25 times.
And now the war has been going on in Syria for 3 years now. Over 100,000 body count. And we know General Dempsey actually went further. You were talking about apocalyptic. General Dempsey said ISIS has an end of days strategy.
Yeah.
That they value death more than life.
Yeah. And listen, I talked to a lot of intel people in Washington. They think the threat from ISIS is real. They think that the 200 or so ISIS members who have U.S. passports are a real threat.
That's the thing that frightens me to death.
European passports. Listen, there are a lot of people in this town who don't know why we haven't been attacked yet
Right.
on some scale. Not that it has to be a 9/11 jetliner into a building, but 10 guys around the country
Right.
at the same time would cause equal amount of
Well,
panic.
you got 200 people over there fighting with ISIS who have American passports. I'm not sure we have a good feel for who they are. We wouldn't know it if they came back. This seems to me to be a tremendous national security threat.
Yeah, and listen, there are some who say that it is really a problem. But then you listen to how the tide turned on the rhetoric on this group, and suddenly it was like it's just regional, and we're going to deal with it, and we'll see when the president makes his decision.
Right.
So,
And Obama actually said in January that when he was asked about ISIS in January, ISIL, whatever we're calling it now, he said that they were the equivalent of a high school basketball team group of terrorists, who now, by the way, even Secretary of Defense Hagel has said this makes Al-Qaeda look like chumps. I think Hagel said in so many terms, because they have between 10,000 and 17,000 people fighting on behalf of ISIS in Syria and Iraq.
yeah, and I think, Crystal, the numbers are a lot bigger than that. When you add it all up across the entire region, I mean, some people put it at 50.
Yeah, well, like you said, just that's just Iraq and Syria, and I agree with you. I'm really petrified at the prospect of another large-scale attack, because they are so spread throughout the world, and now they're recruiting Americans to fight on behalf, to kill us, basically.
I don't think the president wants to go into Syria. I mean, that's just his reticence to do that. I don't think he ever really did, which is why he went to Congress, and of course Congress didn't move forward with that vote a year ago. So I'll be interested to see what it ends up being.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be a couple of weeks.
You think
Yeah,
there'll be
I think so.
any damage control on this comment that we have no strategy?
Well, Josh Earnest has been out, I think, 3
He's already
times
doing
this
it.
morning.
Yeah. I'm not
and-
surprised by that.
And about 10 minutes of it was how they do have a strategy. So I expect the White House briefing to be strategy-filled.
And I would say to you that there's a rumor going around that tonight you'll be wearing your tan suit on the air.
I don't think so.
Are we going to see you in that,
No,
Brett?
I try to not to choose brown.
You have good taste
What,
in your
did you
suits,
see that?
Brett.
See that headline? The audacity of taupe.
Yeah, you can't ever wear taupe now, Brett, ever.
Brett, always a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us.
We'll see you guys.